We begin with the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Madam Speaker, welcome to This Week.
Good morning. My pleasure to be here.
Let's start with the COVID relief package. I outlined some of the benefits just now, but there was unanimous opposition on the Republican side. Most said the package was too large, not targeted at COVID relief. And our next guest, Senator John Barrasso, argues that it will overheat the economy and fuel inflation. What's your response?
I totally disagree. The fact is that it's strongly bipartisan across the country. It's only in the Congress of the United States where the Republicans have refused to meet the needs of the American people, where they didn't vote, as I said of them, vote no and take the dough. You can be sure that all of their states and communities will be benefiting from this, and they won't be complaining about it back home. But let's just be on the positive side of it. This is pretty exciting. As I said, it's a momentous day. This is transformative. We have 50% of children in poverty will be taken off of poverty. And by the way, this bill is 90-some% coronavirus-centric. This is similar to the bill that we wrote in May, the HEROES Act, some of which was implemented in December, much of it now, but refreshened by President Biden's proposals. Then we didn't have the vaccine, now we do. So that makes a tremendous difference in our goal to crush the virus and save the lives and livelihoods of the American people. So it's what we needed to do, and we need to do more as we go into the next step with our recovery package.
Let's talk about what comes next. You signaled Friday that major infrastructure legislation is coming next. That's going to require new taxes. Can you keep Democrats united behind a proposal like that and attract any Republican support?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the building roads and bridges and water supply systems and the rest has always been bipartisan. Always been bipartisan, except when they oppose it with the Democratic president, as they did under President Obama, and we had to shrink the package. But nonetheless, hopefully we will have bipartisanship. So I put out called upon my chairs of the committees of jurisdiction to reach out to the Republicans to see what we can do, as we have traditionally done, in a bipartisan way. This is about broadband, it's about water systems, it's about mass transit, it's about good-paying jobs all over the country. It's also about schools and housing and the rest, good-paying jobs across the country. And not only that, once those jobs of building are done, it's about promoting commerce, creating good. So the goal is to promote good growth, creating good-paying jobs as we protect our planet and are fiscally sound.
But it is going to take new taxes, right? You say fiscally sound.
Well, we'll see. There's some fees that spring from certain harbor maintenance tax credit, that. We'll see. I think that some of it needs to be, we'll look at everything. We'll look at the tax code, we'll look at the appropriations process, we'll look at bonding in terms of Build America bonds enabled us to do so much in the ARA package under President Obama and Vice President Biden. We'll take a look at those, but again, we want to be fiscally sound as we go forward. And this is job creating, which creates revenue that comes back to the Treasury. Unlike what the Republicans did with their tax scam in 2017, which gave 83% of the benefits to the top 1%, indebted our children to the tune of nearly $1.9 trillion, recognize the figure, in debt added to the national debt. So they should be the last people to be talking about what is too expensive for the American people as we meet their needs.
Let's talk about the situation at the border. We've seen a huge surge in migrants crossing the border since January. The number of children in custody higher than it was than its 2019 peak during the Trump administration. Your colleague, Veronica Escobar of Texas, called the conditions there unacceptable. She was there on Friday. Is she right? What more must be done?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear who you said.
Veronica Escobar, Congresswoman
Veronica Escobar, our colleague from representing El Paso, and yes, it is. Actually, the facts are these: there are more children, about 600-700 more children, unaccompanied children, coming over the border. This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that in the children's interest. I'm so pleased that the president, as a temporary measure, has sent FEMA to the border in order to help facilitate the children going from 72-hour issue into where they are cared for as they are transferred into family homes or homes that are safe for them to be. So this, again, is a transition for what was wrong before to what is right. Of course, we have to also look to Central America and Mexico and the rest. The corruption, the violence, all of that so bad. My most recent trip to the Northern Triangle, that would be Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, you saw the impact of the climate change, mind you. These people were leaving because of the drought. They couldn't farm, and they were seeking other ways to survive. So there are many reasons that go into this, but the fact is we have to deal with it at the border. And many of the people, some of the people coming there are seeking asylum. And I always like to quote our friends in the evangelical movement. At one of our rump hearings we had before we had the majority, the representative said to us, the United States Refugee Resettlement Program is the crown jewel of American humanitarianism. So we have certain responsibilities that we must honor. We have to have a system that accommodates that, and that is what the Biden administration is in the process of doing.
Let's talk about security on Capitol Hill. An increasing number of Democrats and Republicans are saying the National Guard presence has to be reduced. Fencing should start to come down. Are you prepared to move in that direction?
Well, I have. This past week, we had the presentation by General Honore and other law enforcement and national security experts as to what we can do to avoid what happened before, but as we go forward, and members springing from that are having their views. This has to be a professional security decision. I myself have been one to say, let's see what we can do with a minimum of fencing, but again, it's a security decision. They're cutting in half the number of the National Guard already. They only will be there as planned for the next 2 months, and subject everything that is there. The architect of the Capitol has certain needs that he must have to harden the entrances and windows to the Capitol. You know, and then the police board has to be reviewed for how it makes decisions. They're important decisions to make, and we had 3 sessions so that as many members as possible who wanted to know the facts of it all. And now this week hopefully we'll be able to make some decisions based on that, and then we will have to have a supplemental, a piece of legislation to pay for the additional changes. And hopefully, as we make our decisions, those will be our very best investments on how we protect the Capitol, return it as soon as possible to this glorious temple of democracy that it is, so our children can return, our visitors can return, and appreciate the democracy of the United States. So I think we're all on the same page in terms of wanting to make changes necessary. Unfortunate that it had to happen, but if you have an insurrection incited by the President of the United States based on misrepresentations, you have to make sure you're safe enough so those who are motivated by those misrepresentations do not think that they have open season at the United States Capitol.
I want to ask you about the controversy you bring around Iowa's 2nd Congressional District. The GOP Congresswoman Marjorie Miller Weeks won a razor-close election, 6 votes. The votes were counted, recounted, certified by the state. But the House Administration Committee began a process this week that could lead to unseating the Congresswoman.
Right.
That has Republicans accusing you of hypocrisy, including Jim Jordan. He put out this tweet: Speaker Pelosi says she's open to unseating Republican Congresswoman Miller Weeks. Translation: you're only allowed to object to an election if you're a Democrat. Why investigate an election that was certified by the state?
Well, it was 6 votes. It was 6 votes, and our candidate, Rita Hart, the Democratic candidate asked for this process to begin. What the committee did, the House Administration Committee, was very narrow to take the process to the next step and see where it goes from there. As an election of 6 votes out of 400,000 votes cast. This is not unique. This has happened maybe even when you were in the Capitol before, when races had been close, one side or the other saying, let's take it to the House. Because even Justice Scalia agreed that the House has the authority to seat members, and therefore we can count the votes. 6 votes out of 400,000 cast. For them to call anybody hypocritical about elections when 2/3 of them in the House voted against accepting the presidency of Joe Biden is, well, it's just who they are.
Finally, I want to ask you about New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. A majority of New York's congressional delegation, both senators, have called on Governor Cuomo to resign. You've said there should be 0 tolerance for sexual harassment.
Right.
Does that mean that Governor Cuomo should resign?
I said there's 0 tolerance for sexual harassment, and we have taken measures in the House of Representatives, very strong measures in the House under leadership of Congresswoman Jackie Speer of California. What I said at the time that these revelations came forward, I said what these women have said must be treated with respect. They are credible and serious charges. And then I called for an investigation. I have confidence in the Attorney General of New York. She has called for I think, expeditious investigation. And again, with all the respect in the world for what these women have come forth and said. In terms of, see, you're talking about New Yorkers now. In terms of generally speaking, people have to look inside themselves and say, and Governor Cuomo also, how effective is their leadership in leading the state under the circumstances that are there? But I do think that the women deserve to hear the results of these investigations, as does the governor.
Can he be an effective leader now?
No tolerance. No tolerance. And this is a subject very near and dear to my heart. This is no tolerance for sexual harassment. Let the world know that.
But you're not calling on him to resign right now?
I think we should see the results of the, but he may decide. And hopefully this result will be soon. And what I'm saying is the governor should look inside his heart. He loves New York, to see if he can govern effectively.
Speaker
and
Pelosi,
that could be one of the considerations that he has.
Thank you very much for your time this morning, Speaker. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.